Good morning. I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I have my cappuccino. It's a little fluffier than usual, I think. I think I washed my milk frother and it had a little water in it. It made it kind of fluffy. So it's been a while. On July 14th, I made a No Frills Daily where we talked about Operation Bitch Slap, Iran back in action, Air Force One, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell on his deathbed. He's apparently out of the hospital now and back at home, but still no one has seen him, although he did vote on something yesterday, I think, or something. ICE resurgence. So, okay. So I thought we could Voynich. You know what? If you haven't watched this one about the Voynich manuscript, that was pretty interesting. That's the funeral traditions from different places. An NFL storybook. Mother Goose. This one hasn't come out yet. I did a Mother Goose one. Okay, let me set these aside. Hold on. And then we need a new piece of tissue paper. So this will be our newspaper. I don't have a whole lot, I'll be honest. I just know some of you enjoy this. P.S. If you don't want to hear about current events or politics, this video is not for you. And that's totally understandable. So you might want to go watch the Voynich manuscript. That one's not about anything like that. Okay, let's save this piece for later. So today is, let me get my oil pastels here. Hold on. Today is, do you remember? I remember driving to preschool in the back seat of my mom's car, and she always would have the news on in the morning, and it would go anyway. Today is August 8th, 2026. Oh shucks. And it's Saturday in the park. I'm gonna need a little more to write on. Hold on. I need like more backing, I think, for it to sit on. Okay. So really the top story is that Todd Blanche was confirmed Attorney General. But before we get to that, let's go to a few other stories, because that one I know more about. But we can just touch on some updates from our last newspaper. So, first of all, in Iran, I haven't heard them use the term Operation Bitch Slap recently. But the Irani Revolutionary Guard says that the Strait of Hormuz will stay closed, even though a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, have been negotiating with them. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard says it'll stay closed until we have a confirmed deal with the United States. So for now, there's not many oil tankers going through there, which is why you might be seeing the price of gas higher right now. We've been using reserve. We have a lot of reserves of fuel. You know what? I won't go into all that because there is a whole video on my channel about, I should make a note of all the videos I should link. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, we did a whole thing about the price of oil. So that's one. Okay. But that's what's happening there. It's still going on, ongoing. Not a whole lot of change this week, really. So, okay. And then I think maybe a couple weeks ago, I did a video about a poison pill rider, it's called. And you can watch that video, so I won't go into it, but that is when a not as popular bill is attached to a very popular bill. And that's a rider. But they call it a poison pill rider because it's a very unpopular bill. So sometimes you're sort of forced to either vote for or against the popular one, but they can kind of use it against you. So as an example, the popular bill, the bipartisan bill that always passes, is the yearly funding for the military. And that's like military housing and retirement and medical, all that stuff is in that. It passes universally. But they throw a secondary bill on there. And this isn't, Obama's done it. They're doing it right now. It's like a thing that happens. And the secondary bill right now is the SAVE Act, which is the voting act, which I did a video on that too. Hold on. We have to do the rider one. We have to do the SAVE Act. I'll link all these in the description if I can figure it out. So anyway, so if you were to vote against it because of the SAVE Act, then in midterm ads, they would say, it would be fun to say, if you're against the person, they voted against the military, when really they may have been voting against the rider that was on there. That's why it's called a poison pill rider. Anyway, so that did not go through yet. And the Congress is working on a stopgap to just fund everything before they go away for their August break. So I don't even know how to write that. Congress to go on break. August break. Oops. Let's put pre-August break. This looks just like a newspaper. Stopgap. So that's kind of the update on that I told you about a couple weeks ago. By the way, I know it's like Congress takes off for the whole month of August. Well, there is a reason for that. And part of that is they're supposed to go back to their home states and hold like town halls and talk to their constituents. Am I saying that word right? I think so. And get a feel for what their state, who they're supposed to be representing, is feeling. That's the idea behind these breaks where they go back to their home state. Because the rest of the time they're usually in Washington, D.C. Now, do they need as much time? I don't know. And it's also where they get donors and stuff for their next campaign. So they're doing all that kind of work. I'm just putting that out there. I don't know that that's always what they're doing. And do they need a full month at once? Could they take a week every year in there? I don't know. But that's historically, like back in the old days, they didn't have internet and stuff. They were riding their horse back and forth. Okay. So those things are happening. You know what's one other thing? Oh, let me take a sip of my... Before we get to Attorney General, I think just like yesterday or something, a Washington, D.C. federal district court ruled that President Trump can't work on the $400 million ballroom. I don't even know how many zeros are in a million, so I'm just going to write mil. Now, the district court's argument is that the White House is the people's house, which it is, right? The people's house. And that Congress needs to approve, as stated in the Constitution, that any changes to the people's house, even if they have to do with security. So that was the reasoning. Now Trump truthed out. He was not very happy about that. But whoops, that's what's going on there. I think here we should maybe draw a picture of the White House. I don't know. I don't think I can. What does it look like, you guys? Nope. That doesn't look great. And then here's where the rubble. I can't draw the White House. I guess I should have made it white. What does the top look like? There's a flag up here. We got some security detail up here, probably walking around on the roof. Okay. I just needed a visual. All right, but our top story is, I may have to write with this pen because these are getting hard to write with, that Todd Blanche there's an E on there, I'm pretty sure, has been approved by Congress to be the Attorney General of the United States. Now, this took a little while. There was a whole lot of back and forth. Part of that is because of the anti-weaponization fund. I have a video about that if you're curious. I'll try to link it. Anti-weapon. Okay, so where do I begin? All right, so the anti-weaponization fund is a fund that was set aside for the administration to use to pay anybody who feels, or the administration feels, was wrongly prosecuted. I think that's a fair statement, something pretty much. And that fund, like I said, there's a whole video if you're curious. Weaponization is $1.8 billion. And this is all taxpayer money. I go into that more in the video. And who it goes to is it's not, you'll have to watch that video, but it's hard to know who will get that money or who it will be given to. Okay, so that was part of why many Republicans, because Republicans currently are in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, obviously. So they can basically vote in almost everything, pretty much, without any Democrats. So this is just really Republicans. A lot of Republicans were holding back based on this. They don't feel that this $1.8 billion in taxpayer money should be used to pay off. I mean, for example, some people who were at the January 6th event party at the Capitol building. Anyway, so they were holdouts. Well, Todd Blanche made a verbal agreement to get rid of this. And so the holdouts voted him in, a couple of the holdouts. So the vote went through 50 to 49. And there were two Republicans. They're both Republican, right? Or are they? Anyway, Susan Collins who's from Maine, and Lisa Murkowski, who's from Alaska. Okay, they were the two holdouts. The rest were Democrats. So, but the other Republicans who were kind of holdouts, like Tom Tillis, and I forget the other one, but they, after getting the verbal agreement, voted him in. But that verbal agreement, we'll see. We'll see what happens, because I don't know. Okay, so now we have Todd Blanche as Attorney General. Why is that something people are talking about, you may say? You say, Linda, who cares? Well, it's highly unusual, this situation. And it's partially because Todd Blanche was President Donald Trump's personal attorney. He was his attorney during the time when Special Counsel Jack Smith was handling the classified documents that were in the Mar-a-Lago bathroom, and also about the suit about Trump trying to overturn the 2020 election. So Todd Blanche was Trump's personal attorney during that time. Now, the Republicans who are holdouts and some Democrats, part of their concern is that Todd Blanche might not be serving the people. He'll be serving President Donald Trump. And so there is a lot of worry, because even in like the hearings, they interview him basically for the job in the hearings. And he said, I'm his lawyer, I'm Trump's lawyer, and then kind of corrected himself. So it was like, yeah, that's sort of the problem here, you know. Now, Blanche was the, the Deputy Attorney General under Pam Bondi. Okay, let's go back 1 minute. So Pam Bondi was the Attorney General, and she's the one who was releasing the Epstein files, highly redacted Epstein files. We'll talk more about the Epstein files, because I do think that plays a part in all this. But then she got fired. And ever since then, Todd Blanche has been the acting Attorney General. Well, now he's been approved as the Attorney General. And what the Attorney General is in charge of, is the head of, overseas, is all... Okay. Attorney General is the head of the DOJ, which is the Department of Justice. And they oversee the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, the U.S. Marshals, which, by the way, is the oldest federal agency in existence, I believe. They were like out west. Tombstone, they were U.S. The ATF, which is alcohol, tobacco, firearms. The Federal Bureau, how do you spell Bureau of Prisons. The Antitrust Division, which is, I feel like that's kind of interesting, because what the Antitrust Division is, they make sure that there aren't like monopolies in business, which is something you don't hear as much about anymore. But like people doing anti-competitive business practices, so that they control the market. And that's what the Antitrust Division does. And that's important. And we're getting more and more of these like major players who just run the world. And I don't know, it's something we should do a special episode on maybe, because that's interesting. So that's what the Department of Justice oversees, plus other things too. And he will be the Attorney General, who is the head of the Department of Justice. So even if you are a big supporter of President Trump, you can understand how people who are concerned about overreach could see this Todd Blanche, who was, and some say, they're still very close, who was Trump's personal attorney, running all of this could be a conflict of interest. So going back to the Epstein thing, as a deputy attorney general, Blanche was under Bondi, also part of the people who were in charge of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I did do a video on that too. And the 3.5 million pages that were redacted and sent out. But there's still millions of pages that have been withheld for victim privacy, or what they say. The reason they say they're withheld is victim privacy, grand jury secrecy, attorney-client privilege because of court orders, blah, blah, blah. Or that they're unrelated or they're duplicate. But nobody really knows that because they've been withheld. And because of how much redactions were on the Epstein files, that leads to people feeling like, what is being covered up? Because it wasn't just victims' names that were covered, but everybody's names were covered. And by redacted, I mean like it would say, Joe Bronco called to meet girl X. Well, they'd cover out girl X. That makes sense because she's a victim. But they'd also cover out this. So basically it would just say called to meet, so you don't know anything. So that's the redacted situation. Now, some of you might remember Todd Blanche because he is the one who, during all this, he went and met at the Florida low security prison, Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of sex trafficking and other crimes related to the Epstein situation. She was like his secondhand woman. Not secondhand, what's it called? Anyway, so Todd Blanche met with her at a low security prison in Florida and then immediately moved her to an even more minimum security place in Texas, where it was reported that she had a puppy and all this stuff. So that is kind of a big question mark. What's going on there? I kind of messed up my piece of paper. All right, so this paper has an insert in it so that we can keep this straight. All right, so Todd Blanche was Trump's personal lawyer. He becomes Attorney General. So now he's in charge of the Department of Justice. All of these. And the Department of Justice is responsible for the Epstein files, he's already been involved in Epstein by redacting the files and meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. Congress keeps asking for transparency about this. But now here's the big update. This is the Epstein file update. The newest, biggest update is, I can't believe I need another sheet of paper, that we got to go down one from here. Beep. The state of New Mexico is actually suing the Department of Justice and specifically Todd Blanche, which is kind of interesting, over access to the Epstein records. So they're having trouble getting full access to the records. And that's why they're suing the Department of Justice and Todd Blanche. Now, of course, it's just a lawsuit, so we don't know what the truth or outcome or anything of that is yet. But the reason for that, and you might say, what is New Mexico? What? Tell me, what is going on? Well, in the state of New Mexico, there is a ranch called Zorro Ranch. I think it's under private ownership right now, which must be weird, but it's a property there called Zorro Ranch. And the state of New Mexico wants to get the records all about this ranch in particular, yeah. And just because they're suing them doesn't mean that there's anything being hidden or withheld. It just means that they don't have full access to them. There could be reasons for that, and maybe they'll prove that, and this will just end. But I'm just telling you what's going on currently, is that they are suing not just the DOJ, but Todd Blanche, which I thought, oh, that's interesting. So what is Zorro Ranch? This ranch was owned by Epstein. And there have been a lot of accusations about what went on there, if people were held there, even more things, darker things. I don't know. I admit I have not fully researched Zorro Ranch, but if you want to, you could go look it up because it could be interesting. I don't know what's the deal there. So that's what's happening currently with the update to the Epstein situation. So will we get more information about it from Todd Blanche? I don't know. Is it a conflict of interest to have somebody who is Trump's personal lawyer? I will tell you that it is highly unusual. This is very unusual. It's not like, oh, this happens all the time. No. No. This is a weird one. So just something to look out for. What else is happening in the news? Well, I started watching a show called Dark Matter on Apple, which is years old, but a new season's coming out. So somebody asked me in an email if I would watch it, and so I started. I've been binging it. But the new season comes out. I just saw the new season of Ted Lasso came out. What else is going on? What is this? Oh, Spider-Man movie had like the biggest opening, I forget, of any movie of all time. Is that right? I haven't seen a superhero movie in ages, but I'm kind of loving, what's his name? Tom Holland, is that right? Anyway, that guy and his wife, Zendaya. Oh my, I think she's like a legit real life movie star. She is so cool and so pretty, and just love her and love him. Anytime that video comes up of him dancing Umbrella, I'm like, I to stop and watch it. I think I've watched it 100 times. It is so awesome. If you haven't seen it, seriously, go watch it. I mean, were they a couple yet? Or was that before they were a couple? I don't even know. But anyway, they're married. And they're adorable. And I hope that stays that way. I hope they stay like cool. And I like that they're not, like they're in the press because they're doing the openings of their movies and stuff. But they're not like, they don't seem hungry for it, you know? And one time he called her Marie. Oh my God, so cute. That's her real name, Marie something. Anyway, I don't know if that's her real name. I guess that's her real name. I just watched a movie with her called, The Drama. The Drama. Now, my son didn't like that movie, but I actually did like it. I thought it was enjoyable. But I watched it at home, so maybe that, you know, if you pay to see a movie at a theater, maybe that's different than if you watch it at home. But I enjoyed it. I'm trying to think what else is going on in the world. I don't know. I do have the Constitution here. I feel like there was a reason I was pulling this out. What was it? Oh, it was about the, you know, the other thing I think I could see if, like, being in charge of all these departments, if a thing happened again like the last January 6th, like if President Trump, he has talked about using the war, I forget what it's called. There's an act about war where maybe a president stays in office because there's an ongoing war. Now, the Constitution, I don't think would back that up. Like, there would be questions about that. But when you have somebody who's a real friend like Todd Blanche, you wonder, and he's in charge of all these agencies, will they stick to the Constitution or not? Like, I think there are concerns like that could be there. If you have those concerns, which, I mean, because Todd Blanche was in charge of being Trump's lawyer during the trial about the overturning the 2020 election. So, I don't know what that. But everything should be under the law of the Constitution, at least. Anyway, all right, guys. I will try to figure out